Source and MoveOn.org for giving us these repeated opportunities to work together. My name is Louis Spain, and I appreciate the opportunity as an ordinary citizen and process improvement consultant who's frankly beaten, bloody, and scared out of my mind by all the disasters occurring in the world, especially in the United States. In the last 7.5 years of multiple tragic military blunders, skyrocketing oil prices, exploding national deficits, persistent unemployment, constant flow of mind-boggling lies being told by businesses and political leaders who support the neoconservatives, mushrooming nuclear destabilization in not one but two nascent nuclear powers who hate the Bush administration even more than we do, hard to believe, vanishing civil liberties that make all of us in the year 2008 just a little bit nervous about being here with people who have cameras. And just to make it clear that hell has frozen over, which may possibly be due to climate change, an exploding mortgage crisis, and rampant worldwide food, transportation, and medical shortages. Through all of this, there's been one reliable island of personal integrity, personal and moral integrity, prudent planning, bipartisan cooperation, and governmental effectiveness. And here's where I'd like to kind of bring this whole thing down to a more local level. Unfortunately, this island of tranquility has only been around for about 3.5 years, and it was only made possible in a state, Washington, of 10 million people by what we laughingly refer to as a plurality of less than 150 votes. That was the margin after 2 recounts. What do we get for a 150 vote investment? Well, a lot of you read the newspapers. If you MoveOn.org, you're all news hounds. So let's just talk about maybe some of the more personal things. What we didn't get was massively billion-dollar corruption cases, or even $1 million corruption case for that matter. What we didn't get is a chief executive who gets into appallingly stupid and horrible personal criminal crises. We did not get the malicious prosecution and incarceration of otherwise innocent political opponents. We didn't get humiliating lapses in judgment of her personal life, currently or even in the past. We have never gotten any pandering on divisive, racist, wedge issues ever. In fact, there has not been one single cringeworthy incident in her entire term in office. That's Christine Gregoire. I know that personally, Take that, Gino. I know that personally for myself and probably 80% of this crowd together, we can't make the same claim. All this for less than the measly sum, I don't need it. All this for less than the measly sum of 150 votes. Now, 150 of anything nowadays doesn't buy you much of anything. In fact, for those of you with large SUVs, it won't even get you a full tank of gas. In fact, 150 million of anything doesn't buy you much these days. So what are we going to do to protect our investment, to preserve and nourish this little slice of heaven we've been building these last 3.5 years? I spent about 13 years in aerospace and human resources and in manufacturing engineering, working with people just like ourselves. Not vice president, not chairman of the board, although we report to them. And what I found out is that we can accomplish things that they're not able to, and they've told me that if we just work together and do things that are within our control. In fact, one of the criteria we use with every group I work with, in addition to how much money does it cost, how much does it screw up schedule, how much waste does it create, is how much control do we have on it. And if it doesn't, we don't have enough control to do it all by ourselves, so we could just report to management. What the effect was, we don't touch it. And it creates an interesting sort of energy. I can remember one presentation we made, a group of hand finishers, which is about the lowest of the low in a factory. We presented about 6 different projects that we'd done, and I saw the corporate vice president of manufacturing and 3 of his directors competing with each other to give us money to do things to get more money than we'd already achieved before. And we were able to tell them, maybe later, because we stuck to the things that we had control over. So, what do we have control over? One of my former vice presidents went to an air show, came back scared to death that our entire business was going to implode because of all the foreign competition and the competition that we were having from our primary contractors. they're being hit by, by the economy too, and so they're starting to make some of the stuff that we made. So he said, we've got to get better. So I called Harold up, and I said, Harold, I'm getting ready to go into a meeting with all your guys. What's your target? He says, what do you mean? I said, well, how much do we need to get better? And in what ways? He says, well, I just don't know, Louis. He says, we just have to get better. I says, Harold, give me a number. He said, well, I don't know what number. He says, there's so much stuff. I said, Harold, make it up. He says, I couldn't do that. I said, Harold, whatever you tell me, we're going to get probably double, triple, or quadruple. Just give me a number. He says, I just don't know, Louis. I said, what about 35%? He says, oh my God, we can never do 35%. I says, well, that's all right. I won't tell anybody else, just the people in the meeting. Make a long story short, we did huge improvements because we focused on the stuff that we have under our control. So one of the gripes I have about being with MoveOn.org is they don't keep me busy enough. Okay, I'd like to be doing these things every weekend, maybe a couple of nights during the week because the situation is that dire. So in your spare time, I'd like for you to commit to one other objective to protect at least what we have here. Christine won by less than 150 votes. I'd like for all of you to personally assume responsibility for contacting at least 150 voters in Washington between now and November. You're talking about a little over 6 months. That's about 25 people per month. That's less than one a day. Is that something that you can absolutely, positively commit to?